Hello, hello, my style icons. Welcome back to Life in Style with Brianna Cantore. That is me. I'm a fashion designer, a stylist, a dog mom, a fitness enthusiast, just trying to live my best, healthiest, and happiest life. And this is your mental vacation, the best destination to be besides maybe the Jersey Shore. I haven't been to the Jersey Shore in a while now. I'm originally from North New Jersey, and so the Jersey Shore means so much to me. And it's summertime, and I'm just really craving a Jersey Shore weekend. So hopefully, I can make that happen by the time the end of the summer comes. But if not, that's okay. I'll get there at some point. And today we're going to take a different vacation. So, if you're new to this podcast or haven't listened to the other episodes or don't follow me, I recently took a 10-day trip to Europe. The trip started in Rome with me and my sister. My sister has never been to Europe before this trip, so that was super exciting. And then after Rome, we met up with my dad and stepmom and her mom in Portugal and visited Comporta in Portugal and then ended our trip in Lisbon. So for today's episode, I'm going to recap our trip in Rome. And then next week, I'm going to recap the Portugal portion of our vacation. I figured I would separate them because it was a long trip and we did so much. And Rome is very different than Portugal, the cities we saw in Portugal. So I just figured it made more sense to separate the vacation that way and just go through everything my sister and I did in Rome and some travel tips I have and just some really fun things that we did that I haven't done before. So let's get into it. Okay, so I first want to start off by saying that I've been very blessed to travel a lot throughout my now 34 years of life. As a kid, our dad took us to some pretty cool places, mostly in the US. So we would do vacations in LA and Laguna Beach and go see our grandparents in Naples, Florida, which is now where my dad lives, and go to Disney World. So we've really had such a great time doing that. And then as I got older and well into my 20s, I started traveling with my friends to Europe, and I've gotten to go to Greece and France, the south of France, Paris. I got to go to Japan with my dad for work. And so I just want to say I'm really grateful that I've been able to take those trips and experience seeing the world because I really do believe that traveling is one of the best ways to learn and grow as a person and experience different cultures and really open up your heart and mind. And it's also very expensive to do so. So I'm grateful that I've been able to take these trips. And so, with that being said, and with the experiences that I've had, and every time you take a trip, you learn something. I realized that I prefer flying to Europe at night because when you take a night flight from, say, I always leave from New York or New York Airport, Newark, JFK, or LaGuardia, and then arrive in Europe in the morning. So you can kind of utilize the plane ride to sleep if you can, or watch a bunch of movies, which is what I did and then wake up the next day and it's already morning in Italy or France or wherever you're going in Europe. So it kind of works out nicely. And then I try to stay up all day and go to bed the normal time I would go to bed at home to try to regulate as fast as I can. And of course, the time change always ends up catching up to you, but that is my tip to take a night flight if you're leaving from the Northeast. So we left on a Wednesday night. We flew out of JFK and then we arrived in Italy on a Thursday morning. So, one thing I hate about checking into hotels is that the check in is so late. And especially when you're going somewhere far and you've just been on this long plane ride, like the last thing you want to do when you get to your hotel finally is just stay in those airplane clothes and not be able to wash yourself up. I freaking hate that. So I booked an early check in at our hotel, which I would recommend doing. So if you can, when you're traveling to Europe, so that way you can immediately get into your hotel room and freshen up after that long flight. I digress. Anyway, we land Thursday morning. My sister and I had been seeing a lot of Instagram reels and TikToks about how immigration had been a nightmare in Rome. But luckily, we had that lucky girl syndrome and we flew right through once we got off the airplane. And because we didn't have anyone under the age of 12 with us, we were able to get on the line all the way to the right. And we learned this by watching reels because you can easily like miss the signs too. I feel like in the airport, especially if you're like yapping or so excited that you just landed in Italy. But if you they do have signs that you can take the line all the way to the right through immigration if you don't have anyone in your party under 12 with you, and we flew right through. There were other lines for people with families or passports from other countries that were looked hours and hours long, and that looked like a nightmare. So I've never been happier to not have a kid yet. And I was like, "Oh my god, when I do have kids, they're not going to Europe, not going to Italy under the age of 12 because I'm not waiting on that line." I was like, "Sorry, we will go to Disney until then." But anyways, we flew right through immigration. And another tip I have, something I did planning ahead, knowing how arriving in a different country after a long flight can be hectic. I didn't want to worry about a taxi situation or getting ripped off. So I booked transportation directly through our hotel, which was amazing. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 would recommend. It was worth what I paid because that man was already there when we landed waiting for us. He was just steps away from where we got our luggage from. And then he helped us with our luggage. He rolled everything, which I don't know how he did it because our bags were so heavy. I packed so much. And my sister packed a decent amount too. And he got us right to the car. He had, priority parking, so he was very close to the where the luggage came out and got us right in and to our hotel so quickly. So, if you can, I would recommend booking your transportation with your hotel so that way you know you have somebody reliable, somebody already there waiting to take you to your destination when you land, someone that can help you with your bags if you need it. And you're not going to get ripped off or be in a pinch if they only take euros or cash and you don't have it on you, it's just so much easier. So, our whole process of landing in Italy and getting to the hotel and checking in was seamless because I booked the pickup ahead of time and because I booked the early check in. So, those are two tips that I highly recommend, especially when you're traveling far and have a long travel day and just really want to feel good when you land. And so, yeah, so we get to the hotel, no problems. We stayed at the Anantara in Rome. I believe they have locations all over the world. We found it through Condé Nast Traveler, which is another tip I recommend. They have phenomenal articles on different cities around the world and the best places to stay. And they do different price points as well. This wasn't the cheapest hotel, but it also wasn't as expensive as somewhere like the Four Seasons. And the room was really nice and spacious, which is something that's not common in Europe. Hotel rooms tend to be very small. And also, if you're sharing a room with someone, like I was sharing a room with my sister, they tend to not have multiple beds in a room, which this they did offer, although they were, right next to each other, which is very, very common in Europe. Again, the room was quite large, and we both had different areas of the room to have our own space and get ready and whatnot. And it even had balcony and a doors that open up so you can see the city. So I loved the Anantara. They also had a rooftop pool, which is what we did once we got there. So we got into our hotel room, we freshened up, put our bathing suits on, and we checked out the rooftop pool and had a really nice lunch up there. So that was a really nice, relaxing way to unwind after such a long flight where both of us didn't sleep a ton. And, you just kind of feel like crap once you fly that long. So I love that they had that rooftop pool, and they also, and this is important as well, I think, when you're traveling to Europe, they had a beautiful breakfast buffet filled with all kinds of food, fruits, vegetables, eggs, sausage, bacon, pancakes, anything you could want, as well as a la carte items and fresh juices and coffees. And I think that's really important because, first of all, it's not like they have the same types of breakfast as we do in the US. If you just walk outside your hotel room and try to find a cafe, and it eliminates that like time of trying to find where do you eat in like bright and early in the morning on your trip. And so I think it's important to just have a reliable option at the hotel so that way you don't even have to think about it. You can get up, have a nice breakfast, and then go out and explore the city and not have to worry about what you're eating for breakfast first beforehand. So definitely look for a hotel, I think, with a good and even kind of Americanized breakfast buffet because I don't know about you, but I can't eat like tons of heavy stuff in the morning. I need my fruits, a nice juice, something like that. And also, the Anantara was located or is located in a centralized area of Rome. So we were like a 12-minute walk from the Spanish Steps, which is where all the designer stores are. So perfect for me. And we definitely walked to that neighborhood a few times to go shopping. So overall, I recommend the Anantara Hotel. And so then that night after we hung out by the pool, we went back into our hotel room, took showers, got changed into cute little outfits, and we went and explored this little town called Monti, Monti. And it's an historic little town. There are some really cute, trendy boutiques and actually a really cool tattoo place that we wanted to get tattoos at, but we didn't end up doing that. But my sister did find a really beautiful dress for a great price. I think she paid like $50 for it, and it literally looked like Missoni. Actually, I saw it in the window and was like, "You need that, girl. That would look amazing on you." And it did. So I was right as always. And anyway, we had just like a chill night walking around that neighborhood. It was walkable from our hotel. And then we went back and went to sleep. We didn't try to overextend ourselves that first day. Now, also, I guess I'll talk about this now a little bit. It was so freaking hot in Rome. And so this was my second time going to Rome. And actually, the last time I went was also in July. And I will never fucking do that again. I mean, we made the best of it, but it was way, way, way too hot. So I recommend going October, November, April, maybe May, the latest, and then calling it a day. I actually think we need to rebrand. And I was talking about this to a friend, but we need to rebrand Euro summer to Euro fall because it's still warm in Europe in the fall, and but it's like a lot more tolerable. You don't get that extreme heat. And in the summer, we just need to go to like the Jersey Shore, the Hamptons, your local beach or lake. We can't be doing that. So, this is my official petition to rebrand Euro summer to Euro fall. And it could be like early fall, and have like local summer. So, anyway, that's what I think I'll be doing moving forward. Okay, so that takes us to Friday. Friday, we woke up and wanted to shop. Like, let's friggin' hit the shops. And if you've never been to Europe or haven't been shopping in Europe, the European brands are way better to shop in Europe because you're not paying the import tax that you would pay in the United States, the VAT. So, it's about, I think, 30% less, don't quote me on that, than what you would pay in the US, maybe even more. 'Cause I know things are always kind of changing because it also depends on the current value of the US dollar versus the EU dollar. But we got some handbags and we paid less than we would in the US, so we saved money. We didn't spend money. So we headed to the shopping district in Via dei Condati. Like I said, that's near the Spanish Steps, and that's where all the luxury designers are. So Gucci, Fendi, Prada, Miu Miu, Chanel, which I didn't get into because you have to friggin' make an appointment. And then I did, but then I didn't make it back in time for the appointment, so they canceled it. It was a whole thing. Chanel's so annoying in that way, And like, I'm a Chanel customer, and even if you're not, anyone should be able to go up into your store and go into it. Like, who the hell do you friggin' think you are? Love your designs, but honestly, not the most welcoming in their stores. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So anyway, went in every store but Chanel, and I ended up getting the Prada Bonnie in chocolate. You'll see it on my Instagram. My sister got the Gucci 196 uh Jackie 1961, I believe it is. It's a re-edition in white, gorgeous. So we spent the day going in every designer store. We saw these people with sorbet and a lemon, and because it was so hot, we had to have it. And honestly, I think that was like one of my favorite things I ate in Italy. I had banana sorbet and a lemon, the chef's kiss. It was delicious and it hit the spot because it was so hot. And then we went back to our hotel, got refreshed, obviously changed my outfit from day to night. And then that night we had dinner in a neighborhood called Trastevere. It's a very charming neighborhood, very known in the summer from June to August, I think it is. They have a festival along the water. It's called the Lungo il Tevere, and they have like carnival games and restaurants and bars. So after dinner, actually met up with a friend after dinner really quick in the square, the main square, because she was there with her family, so that was really special. And then my sister and I went to the festival along the river and we played some carnival games. It was so fun. We won keychains. There's also restaurants down there too, so that's a fun thing to do. You can eat by the water. There's some bars, there's vendors selling fun things. So if you're there from June to August, definitely check out the festival along the river in Trastevere. So after we walked along the river, we then went and met up with my sister's friends because she had friends in Rome, just all by coincidence. We both had friends there, which was crazy and also very special. So we went to this place called Sanctuary Eco Retreat in Rome. So actually, a store associate, when we were shopping, told us about it. And she said that on one side, there's a nightclub and it's very upbeat in a discoteca. And then on the other side, it's an outdoor lounge and you sit by the pool and you can get drinks and just hang out and stuff. And the music's a little bit more mellow. So we were looking forward to checking out both sides of this. situation, but unfortunately, the discoteca side was closed, but the loungy side was very cool. I just was really hoping to have like a Roman nightclub night and just really dance my ass off, but I don't know, we just like couldn't find that vibe, and that's okay. It wasn't meant to be. So then that takes us to Saturday. We did something really fun Saturday night, which we'll get into in a minute. But during the day, we explored Centro Storico, another historic area, really pretty fountain there that we saw, lots of cute little shops, and we stumbled upon a really great vintage designer store, if that's your thing. It was called Chow Vintage, and they had a beautiful vintage bags, really cool, like Dior, suitcase, carry-on suitcase that I loved. And I almost bought the Chanel, like, it was a really long pearl necklace. It wrapped around about 3 times, and it had all these crystal CCs on it, but it was like very pricey, and it was only something I'd probably wear on like maybe my wedding day, and I just couldn't, like, justify the price because I felt like the price was too close to what I knew one would be, and unfortunately, when you do buy secondhand at these places, you don't get the bat back like you would. I don't believe you'll get the bat back like you would buying new, so I just really couldn't justify the price, but it was beautiful, and I would definitely go back there and check out what he had in store. It was a man working at the store. I believe he was the owner because he had a great selection of clothes, bags, and jewelry. I think there were some shoes as well. So definitely check out Chow Vintage in Centro Storico. And so we spent the morning in that neighborhood. It was really, really hot that day. So we went back to the hotel and hung out, had some room service actually, because we had a tour booked for at night. And so we did a Fiat tour with Felice Tours, and it took us all around Rome. We got to see every historic site, like the Trevi Fountain. He stopped for us as close as he can get to it, and we waited on the line to go. So now you have to buy a ticket. It wasn't this way last time I went to Rome years ago, but now you buy a ticket to be able to get in the front row viewing of the Trevi Fountain, which looks intimidating, but it actually didn't take a lot of time at all. So we got to do that, and he waited for us. We got to see the Pantheon. He took us to the Orange Gardens, which, to be honest, I didn't even know existed, but apparently it was on Emily in Paris. And we had the most fabulous gay tour guide, which secretly or not so secretly, I was hoping that our tour guide was going to be a gay man because I just would feel safer. Like, this man is going to compliment my outfit and not kidnap me type of way. And that's exactly how I felt. And he was so nice and so funny. He kept saying, "Ciao, baby," to all the hot guys in the streets and was like, "If you see a hot man, like, I'll stop for you. Let's get you a hot Italian guy." So he was so fun, and 11, 12 out of 10 would recommend Felice Tours. We had a bright pink Fiat taking us around the city to all these places, the Colosseum. I don't know if I said that one, but literally every historic site we got to see on this tour. We did it for 2 hours, and that was more than enough time. Rome is big, but it's not like insanely huge. And we got to see what we needed to see. Got a great photo in front of the Colosseum, our Trevi Fountain photo, Pantheon we got to see. So, Spanish Steps he took us to as well, even though we had already been while we were shopping, which, like, the Spanish Steps, I mean, don't get me wrong, all this stuff is impressive and they built it so long ago, but, like, okay, they're steps. But Rome is beyond gorgeous. Like, and for anyone who says, "Ugh, I don't need to go to Rome, it's just the New York City of Italy," like, they're delusional. It looks nothing like New York City, and you have to go to Rome. It's gorgeous. But anyway, that was our favorite part of the trip, my sister and mine. I mean, we laughed the whole time. People were stopping us like on the street, like, how did you book that? Um, so I would totally recommend doing that. And then it's like takes the pressure off of having to figure out how to see all these historic sites. And then if you really wanted to do a tour, zoom in on one of them, you go and do a tour of that. But at least we got to physically see all these different things that, you only see on Google or textbooks growing up, right? At least we got to see them all in person and then decided which ones we wanted to go back to, if any. So we loved that tour. Thank you to our tour guide. I forget his name. I'm so bad with names. But I will link their Instagram in the show notes in case you want to book it. I totally would if I were you because, like I said, we had the best time. And then that takes us to Sunday. So, Sunday was our last day in Rome. We were leaving for Portugal on Monday. We decided to do something really special on Sunday, which was go see the Vatican. So, we went to Vatican City and we went inside St. Peter's Basilica, which was really special because a mass was going on as well. So it was just, Sunday is such a holy day. And to be there on a Sunday and see a mass going on inside St. Peter's Basilica was, just an amazing experience. We decided not to do the whole tour of the Vatican Museum, which takes you to the Sistine Chapels, because our friends had done it and they said, you know, it's just like because it was so hot in Rome and the tour is so long, it's probably something you can skip for now. So I would still love to do it, just maybe during a cooler months like November, because I don't know if I would have been able to last that long in a warm room on a hot day on this long tour. But seeing St. Peter's Basilica, going inside was beautiful, and we really just enjoyed our morning there. And this day, it felt like the hottest day too. Like it was so hot. So we ended up going back to the hotel room after that, hanging out a little bit, and then we went out and explored Trastevere again. Well, actually, first we went back to the shopping area by the Spanish Steps so I could make my bag purchase because I was unsure of what exactly what exactly I wanted to go with. I was still trying to get into Chanel at that point, but it just wasn't happening. So then after that, we went back to Trastevere and we went to a restaurant that had gluten-free pasta, so I could finally have some pasta. And then also went to a gluten-free bakery so I could have a dessert because, it is hard being gluten-free, but I think Italy is ranked like number one in maybe the world. I don't know, but for being celiac friendly. So there were a bunch of gluten-free options. And I mean, the food in Italy, even if you're not eating gluten, is just so fresh and delicious. So that was special though that I was able to have a pasta night. And then we called it a night. We went back to the hotel and we got packing because, like I said, we were leaving for Portugal the next day, so we had to get everything organized, and it was so hot, and by then we were done with the heat. It was really, really exhausting being in that heat, but we made the best of it and we made it work. And I'm proud of us because, some people would have complained more than we did, and we didn't. We just sucked it up, which sounds so bratty, but it was extremely hot and we had a great time, and that's just life, right? Like sometimes things don't always go as planned or there are uncomfortable situations. For us, it was the heat, but you put a smile on and you make the best of it. Oh, and one more thing I want to say before we wrap this up is in the midst of all these different things we did and places we went to, we walked everywhere. basically, except for the Vatican in Trastevere, so those were a little farther. But anyways, we did so much walking, obviously, and we went in about 8 farmacias because there are products in their pharmacies that you can't get at home, and we picked up some fabulous skincare. I made a reel on it, so I'll link that in the show notes so you can see what I picked up because there are definitely some products that I love, and like I said, you can't get them here. And so that was really fun. We did our research by watching what other people bought in the Italian pharmacies, and then we looked everywhere, especially for this one brand, Miamo, which is an Italian luxury skincare brand. And oh my God, it was like sold out or not even on the shelves anywhere. And then this one pharmacy that we stumbled upon that we weren't even planning on going into had a shelf of it. So that was so fun. Like, that was another favorite part of my trip was going to all the different Italian pharmacies and seeing what they had. My sister even picked up this medication that she saw that a girl posted a reel about that is the only medication that helps her boyfriend's migraines. And my sister gets really bad migraines, so she picked up that medication because it's something we don't have here. So, that was so fun. Every time we would see a sign for a pharmacy, we'd be like, "Oh my god, the pharmacy, we have to go." So, yeah, it's just, like, the little things like that that just, like, make the trip so fun and moments that you'll laugh about forever. So, anyway, if you're going to Rome, we had a few days there and that itinerary just worked out so well for us. So, I definitely recommend kind of breaking up your trip like that. Definitely do the tour. The tour, like I said, was so much fun. Definitely book your transport ahead of time if you can and an early check-in and go in the Italian pharmacies and pack some really cute outfits so you can get some good pictures. And so that is all for today. I hope you liked my Rome trip recap. Tune in next week for our Portugal trip recap, where I'll go through our time in Comporta and also Lisbon. My outfit of the day is by Aloe Yoga. I was going to wear one of my looks that I wore on vacation, but honestly, I was just feeling kind of bloated today. So I wanted to wear something comfy, but this look is actually one of my favorite looks to travel in. It's perfect for a travel day. It's comfortable, but it's also chic. And this little crop jacket is actually, well, I think the designer of it at Aloe was inspired by Prada because when I was in Prada in Rome, I saw a jacket that looked just like this and it was, 10 or 20 times the price of this one. So, anyways, I'll link this look in the show notes if you're looking for some chic loungewear that is great to travel in. And I like to close every episode with an affirmation. The time of recording this, it is the day before it airs, so it is 8/8. And if you're not aware, today there is a Lionsgate portal that's at its highest peak, most powerful day of the Lionsgate portal, the 888. So it's August 8th, 2026, and the 2 and the 6 add to 8, which makes it a triple eight Lionsgate portal. So very powerful day. So our affirmation is going to be a little bit longer than usual, but I'm going to say it a few times so that way you can really let it permeate and manifest and come to life. So, our affirmation is during this Lionsgate portal, my mind and body are ready to receive major shifts and transformations. I will embrace my renewed path and ascend to my most powerful self. I'll read it again. During this Lionsgate portal, my mind and body are ready to receive major shifts and transformations. I will embrace my renewed path and ascend to my most powerful self. And with that being said, this episode is in support of Feed the Children organization. It's a leading anti hunger nonprofit, one that I am a donor of. Please go check them out. Have a beautiful day. Be blessed, and I'll see you next time.